We are officially recording.
All right, and just give me a couple seconds after I ask the question to answer it, just so I can edit my voice out when I cut the video.
All right.
Tell me what family means to you.
Well, family means a lot of different things. Love, respect, trust. Just being able to have someone there who, you can rely on, and who knows they can rely on you. And you have to have the love. Something that I had not had growing up. That I found, I have now, and without it, I'm not sure where I would be right now.
Tell me about growing up. Your first memories and what you knew as life. Were you was when did you realize that you were in the foster care system?
I realized it maybe when I was about 6. Having conversations with some other foster kids in the house, not quite understanding what we were talking about. But I remember early on also having a feeling of not belonging. Like this was not a part, like this, I was not really a part of this structure of this house. Not because I was being mistreated, but I just had an eerie feeling about it. So when we had the conversations about being adopted in foster care, it started to all make a little bit more sense. As I got older, it made more sense. And when I became adopted, when I was adopted by my adopted father, and it just obviously I understood more then. But growing up, it wasn't always the best situation. I've had conversations with my wife as recently as last week about some memories that I had growing up um, with my adopted father before I went back into foster care. And, just trying to make some sense of some things and why I am the way I am now, why I react to things a certain way. And just trying to finally become at peace with some of the frustrations that I experienced early on. Some neglect, some not being protected, not being trusted. And I think those things had a negative effect on me all the way through college. So, and even through my first marriage. So it's it was not always the best situation, but I always tried to find something good about it, which is probably why I often went off on my own, isolated myself, because that was the way I could find refuge. So, but overall, I mean, it wasn't the most ideal situation, but I'm still here now, so I have a testimony.
So when you were a child, when you're talking about when you were 6 and you were living with foster parents, did you how was that situation? Did you call them by a first name, a last name, mother, father, and did you realize that you were different than, say, kids in kindergarten, other kids in kindergarten, or on TV or anything?
Well, in school, everything was fine. I didn't feel misplaced or out of place then. It was always in the home. Um, but I did refer to my adopted father as dad. My adopted mother, who passed away, interestingly enough, when I was 6. I don't remember what I called her, but I do remember her being not being a very nice woman. Um, Very quick tempered. Some would say old school, but she was not a very nice woman. There was an instance I remember when one of the other kids was eating a bowl of cornflakes, and I guess he wasn't feeling well, so he threw up, vomited into the bowl of flakes, and she made him eat it regardless. Those type of issues, and I'm just like, wow. That's another thing that just stuck out of my mind. All these years, I still think about that sometimes. That's some type of cruelty. But we're talking about like 1982, 83, so things are different now than they were then in terms of the law. But I refer to my adopted father as dad all the way up until when he passed away, unfortunately, when I was 16.
So your first foster father is also the man who adopted you.
Yes, yes. He was not a very young man. He was 74 when he passed, and that was 1993. I was 16. So around the time I was born, he was 57. So basically, I lived with him through his 60s and 70s, and it takes its toll. As a young kid coming up, you have a little bit more youthful exuberance, a little bit more curiosity about things, and you're living with a man who's basically in the twilight of his life, and he had a very short, attention span at certain times, and very quick temper because he didn't really want to deal with certain things. So a lot of the times, we just sat at home and watched TV, and very rarely we would go to a movie together. But it got to a point where he would just drop me off at the movie theater on a Saturday, and I'd be there for like 3 hours, and then he'll just come pick me up. So I think that, along with the fact that I never really had a mother figure, may have had some effect on me being the way that I turned out in terms of being not as patient with certain situations, and not really feeling the nurturing that I guess others had. So it's always been
Oh,
there's always been it's always been something, but again, I'm here. I'm still here. I've worked through it.
now if we transition into uh, California, you and I when we were hanging out and everything, before you met your wife, and you were looking for dates, girlfriends, future wives,
Yeah,
what have you.
yeah.
What were you looking for? Who were you looking for?
Well, when I first got to California, I was really just looking for a good time, and whoever decided to show their true colors in terms of what they can provide me with emotionally, I guess I would give them the first look. It took a while. There were some times when I thought it was gonna happen, but it didn't. Circumstances, attitudes, agendas, career. But for the first 3 years of living in California, it was more about just playing the field and just having a good time. And I must also throw in being in California, it started off good in terms of me feeling free because I just got out of a divorce months prior, and had a situation where I was seeing someone, and it didn't work out well, and that kind of soured me to the point where I didn't want to deal with anyone trying to tell me what to do, or feeling like someone was trying to control me. So that kind of led to me being the way I was when I got here. I wanted to be more free, and for 3 years, going into 4, that's how I lived my California life before I met my wife. And she,
Are we still recording? I just want to check. I don't know
yeah,
what the span is on that.
yeah.
All right. And in those after after your divorce and before you met Kirsten, were you thinking family at all, or are you just solely thinking girlfriend and good time?
Well, initially, I really didn't have any expectations. There was such a big age gap. She's 9 years older than me, and I'd never dated anyone that much older than me. So I thought she was nice. She thought I was nice. After our first date, I actually took a very strong liking to her because she seemed very sweet. And the more we began to see each other, the more we saw each other, the more I felt strongly about her, because at that time I wasn't working. I was taking classes, graduate classes, and living by myself. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a lot of the luxuries that some women in Los Angeles look for in a man. And I had been rejected before because of those things. But here's this woman who, she has her own family. She's obviously, at that time, she was at a point in her life where she needed something different. And I lived in this part of LA where she enjoyed, Santa Monica. And, the idea that there's this woman who's been very kind, very sweet, very helpful, very generous, and still wanted to see me and spend time with me, knowing that I didn't have any transportation, or I didn't have all the glitz and glamour. And I made the statement to her before that, why would I not give someone first dibs under those circumstances, who's willing to see me under those circumstances. So she's changed a lot for me. Changed a lot, made me look at things a lot different. I have a whole different perspective now than I did when I first met her. Hell, even a year ago, 2 years ago, things have changed. And I look at my wife as someone who was meant to be in my life for me to get where I am now. I haven't had this feeling of joy and responsibility, joy in responsibility, perhaps since my undergrad days. She's given me something no other woman has given me, which is a son, as well as unconditional love. Her children have welcomed me into their lives. We're not perfect, but we have a rapport with one another to where we don't step on each other's toes, or we don't disrespect each other. We have love for each other, and we look after one another, take care of one another. And those are all, in my mind, in my opinion, those are all direct characteristics of their mother, who's very generous, very caring, very smart, and being that she had gone through things in her childhood, and even her first marriage, which was a total disaster, for her to still have the spirit she has, man, there's no reason why I can't believe that she's the one. And that's why we're together, we're married, we have a family, and we're moving forward.
I was going to ask you to describe her, describe her for me, but you went right into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, you can stop recording. I just need a little bit for it's not really a trailer.
Oh.
I just need a snippet of what I'm working on, and since